Okay, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lisa Ruggiero, and I am the coordinator for the New York State Association for Reduction, Reuse, and Recycling. That's NYSAR. And on behalf of NYSAR, I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, Optimizing Plastic Film Recycling, Resources, Tools, and Compliance. During today's session, you will all be kept on mute to ensure audio quality and minimize background noise. Should you have a question, please type it into the question box of your control panel at any time. We will be holding all of the questions from today until the end of the presentations. We did have over 150 registrants, so we will try to get to as many questions as we can. Today's presenters have consented to share their slides with you, and we will make them available as well as a video recording on the NYSAR website following the webinar. Looking over the registration list, I saw many NYSAR members signed up for today's webinar, so shout out to all the NYSAR members on the line. Thanks for joining us. And I also want to extend a warm welcome to the folks who are not yet members of NYSAR and take a quick moment to let you know a little bit about our organization. NYSAR is New York's premier membership association whose mission is focused on waste reduction, reuse, and recycling. There are other associations in the solid waste field, but ours is special, not only because we are focused on the higher levels of the solid waste management hierarchy, but also because our membership rates are actually the lowest. In fact, individual membership in NYSAR is just $70 per year. That's 70. We work hard to keep our membership rates low, and for that price, you get some pretty substantial benefits. First off, NYSAR is a 501c6 nonprofit organization, not a C3. So we can actually actively advocate for legislation that our industry supports, and we do. If you're interested in bringing your voice to Albany, join NYSAR and get involved with our legislative committee. We also have regional meetups so that you can network with other professionals in your area of the state and tour facilities of interest. Who doesn't love a good tour? And membership in NYSAR gets you discounted registration at events such as the New York State Organic Summit, Annual Recycling Conference, and Federation of Solid Waste Associations Conference. If you attend one or more of these events, membership pays for itself. We also have free trainings, webinars, listserv, the list goes on, but we do have a webinar to get to today. If you have any questions about membership, check out nysar3.org or feel free to email me at nysar3@gmail.com, nysar3@gmail.com. And now, on with the show. It is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Gary Carroll. Gary Carroll is Erie County's solid waste recycling specialist and has been in the solid waste and recycling industry for many years in both the public and nonprofit sector. Last November, he was awarded the 2018 Recycling Leadership Award in the public sector category by NYSAR. Carroll was recognized for his outstanding efforts in coordinating many successful waste reduction and environmental protection programs, including recovery of hundreds of tons of household hazardous waste and unwanted electronics, as well as innovative public education campaigns to increase the collection of textiles and clothing for reuse and recycling. Gary is notably famous for his voicemail recording, "If you don't recycle, don't bother to leave a message." He is Vice President of NYSAR and Chair of the Single-Use Plastics Committee. Take it away, Gary.
Thank you very much, Lisa. And I have to say, joining NYSAR has been one of the best things I've ever done. So if you're not a member, please, consider that. Oh, okay. So I just wanted to talk about, what the Single-Use Plastics Committee is. We have been together now as a NYSAR committee for about 2 years, and this committee actually came off of our pre-conference day that we did a couple of years ago where we really delved into plastic. And this group started at that program and has picked two things to work on: to promote people bringing their own bags and to promote this film plastic recycling. Obviously, the bringing your own bag will now become even more important as the New York State ban is coming up next year. So we're thrilled to see that in place. So this on the screen is the Single-Use Plastics Committee page on the NYSAR page, just so you see that. So I invite everyone to consider not only joining NYSAR, but to also consider joining the Single-Use Plastics Committee, where membership is good, although it's not a requirement. So if you're interested, we meet monthly on the phone, the first Thursday of the month at 9 a.m. Our meetings usually are about an hour, and we continue to discuss these issues. I mean, this whole webinar came out of our committee discussions. If you're interested, just type your email into the question window, and we will add you to the list. And when I send out the reminders, you'll start to get those reminders. All right, so thank you for that. I want to just very quickly, if I can make this work, talk about the New York State Plastic Bag Reduction, Reuse, and Recycling Act. As many of you know, bag and then after that film plastic recycling has been in place, bag recycling, since 2009. And you see on the screen what you have to be, what a retailer has to be in order to be mandated to participate in this program. Then since 2015, the law expanded the requirements that are accepted at these locations, which is a lot of what we're going to be talking about today. So we are advocating that all of us throughout New York State can help, number one, let stores that are not in compliance, let them know that they need to be, and that we can offer some assistance in bringing a film recycling to their stores. And then we can also provide information to the DEC about non-compliance as well. So that's what this is about. You know, we're going to be also talking about the law itself in a little bit, but primarily we want people to know, even if you don't take your own plastic bag at the store, there's plenty of film plastic to be recycling. So, all right, I think that's going to do it for me, and now I'm going to hand it back to Lisa. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Gary. Next up, we have our moderator for today's webinar, Kayla Montani. Kayla works for the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation in the Bureau of Waste Reduction and Recycling's Recycling and Outreach section. Her work focuses on waste reduction and recycling outreach and education, as well as all things bags and film plastics. She is also a member of NYSAR's Single-Use Plastics Committee. And Kayla, I'm making you the presenter now.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Lisa. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to be talking about the Recycle Right New York campaign and how it ties into the purpose of today's webinar. And first, I just want to say thank you. Again, thank you for joining us, taking the time to join us. We know these couple of weeks in particular are very busy for everyone in the environmental field, and we appreciate you taking the time. And also, before I start, I wanted to give special credit to Amy Bloomfield. Even though I'm presenting on this Recycle Right New York topic, Amy and I work on it together, and even though she isn't presenting with me today, she deserves just as much credit for this, and the fabulous slides that you'll be seeing were created by her. So on to talk about Recycle Right New York. So just some background for people about Recycle Right New York. Some of you may have heard about it already, and in case you have not though, so it started out in 2018 when DEC held a series of recycling stakeholder meetings, and the Recycle Right New York campaign began as an outgrowth of the recycling education and outreach stakeholder meeting that was held in New Paltz last October. And the basis for the campaign was formed from stakeholders agreeing that while recycling programs, they do differ across New York State, it was equally easy to agree on the fact that there are certain items that all communities want in their residential recycling programs, and a nearly universal list of unwanted items. Everyone could agree on the fact that we don't want tanglers, we don't want textiles in household recycling bins. So that's where that was headed. So, okay, Recycle Right New York. Who are we and who's involved? So it is a group that is headed up by DEC's Recycling and Outreach section staff. And then we also have, the committee, on the committee itself, it's a combination of private, public, and nonprofit sectors that are working together on the campaign. So we have a variety of input and feedback that we receive, and it makes for a really great discussion when we have our calls, and we get to hear a lot of different points of view from across New York State from all different entities, which is what makes it so unique, because everyone is coming together to work towards one goal. So, okay, so what exactly are we doing? So the Recycle Right New York Committee decided on a year-long campaign for 2019 that would focus on highlighting one item per month. So you should see on your screen basically our monthly calendar for 2019. And so the focus of the campaign is to decrease contamination in residential recycling. So decrease contamination in household recycling bins. And as I said previously, with all the different entities involved, we truly do believe that we're stronger together, and it's been awesome so far to see everybody coming together towards this one goal. So the Recycle Right New York campaign focuses on one item per month that should either be in a recycling bin due to its value in recovery, or out because it's either a contaminant to the recycling stream or appropriately recycled elsewhere. So for example, April is an out month, and the item of the month is textiles. So in our April resources, which I'll be highlighting later, you'll see that, okay, we're educating the public, and everyone on the committee is working towards educating the public about keeping textiles out of your household, recycling bins, but we also let people know where those items can be brought for proper recycling, because we don't want them to end up, being disposed of when they can actually be recycled elsewhere, just not in your recycling bin at home. So, and then the top 12 items, as you see, so the top 12 in and out items were identified by the recycling stakeholders on the committee, and that became the structure of our campaign. And so, like I said, by focusing on the same item and message each month across multiple platforms, whether it be, people's different entities' web pages, their social media, some people or groups are putting things in the newspaper, e-newsletters. So by focusing on the same item and message, all throughout the state, the message is consistent, and like I said, stronger together because the whole group is working on it. So, more about, okay, so what are we doing? So we've got this, this list for the year, and what we really wanted to do was make it easy for everybody that's involved with recycling and recycling education and outreach to, deliver these resources, because we hear a lot of times, we all know everyone is limited on time and resources. And so we wanted to create something that would just be ready, set, go. We develop it and we push it out, and people can use it straight from just like as soon as they access it, as soon as they receive it, which I'll be going over in a little bit too, how to get the stuff. So, we work directly together with stakeholders to develop the monthly resources, and we do provide everything in a finished format so that it can be taken directly from our pages or whoever else, may be posting it and used immediately. And so we start off with our own, content that we might have. And we also did want to mention that you'll see on the screen a image by the Recycling Partnership. So we do use a great deal of the Recycling Partnership's contamination toolkit as well. So also, if you haven't seen those, that's an interesting thing to check out on their website. So how are we doing it? So it's, this is a great web page to bookmark, as I highlighted on here. So I'm going to go ahead now and go to this web page, and this is how you can actually access the resources for Recycle Right New York, and also how you'll be able to sign up to receive the resources directly to your inbox if you're interested. So I'm just going to close out of here for a minute and go to our Recycle Right New York webpage. And so this is on the DEC's website. So this is our Recycle Right New York campaign webpage. And what the Recycle Right New York campaign does is it provides free downloadable social media posts, images, and short paragraphs for articles and newsletters that organizations and individuals can use to promote good recycling habits. So, we've heard from some people that, oh, my organization doesn't use social media. What else can I use? What else can I do? So like I said, we do provide that a blurb in the resources, so a paragraph each month about the topic of the month, and people are able to use that if they're not using social media at their organization. So I'm just going to take you through basically our webpage so people can know how to access the resources. So, excuse me. So to view the free, past, and upcoming Recycle Right New York resources by month, you would, like I said, you go to this webpage, and then under the Recycle Right New York campaigns and resources heading, you'll see a whole listing for the year, and you can just choose by month. So the previous month and the current month is up, and then the resources for the upcoming month are typically posted 1 to 2 weeks prior to that month, and May is actually going to be posted very shortly. So to show you what these actually look like, we're going to use April as an example. So when you click on the April link, it will open to a new web page, and you'll see that in this web page we have everything all set and ready to use. So we have everything laid out by week, and you don't have to necessarily follow the weekly format. You could adjust it as you feel necessary, but we do that just for guidance if people would like it. And everything, as I said, can be directly copy and pasted from here into any organization's or any individual's social media to help promote this message. And again, as I mentioned, we provide a monthly paragraph. So that is April's monthly paragraph about textiles. And I just also want to make sure that I mention that we have free downloadable monthly images, and those can be accessed from these monthly links. So you can either receive the images. As I'm scrolling through them right now, you can see that you can receive them here, and you can save from this web page right here. Or we also have directions for how to access them from the DEC Slicker page, which I won't go through that right now. I don't want to take up too much time. So if you have any questions on that, you can certainly let us know. And most importantly, okay, so you can go to our website to access these resources, but if you would like to receive them as soon as they are available and are released, you'll see that in the top right corner that I'm hovering around, you enter your email address for that, and then you will receive them right away, right to your inbox. And I just want to note that if you are signed up for DEC Delivers already, you do have to also sign up here specifically for the Recycle Right New York campaign. So you're probably thinking, okay, how does this tie into film plastic recycling? Talking a lot about Recycle Right New York. So I'll just scroll down a little bit here. So you'll see that in July, we are going to be highlighting plastic bags and other film plastics. And so the Recycle Right New York campaign resources for July will focus on educating residents on keeping plastic bags and film plastics out of their household recycling bins, and instead utilizing at-store plastic bag and film plastic recycling programs. And I don't want to forget to mention before we go on to Tanya, who's going to talk more about some plastic film recycling education resources, that if you would like to join the Recycle Right New York committee, please feel free to go ahead, send us an email. Our next campaign meeting will be in the fall. Or, like I said, if you want to just receive the resources straight to your inbox, you can enter your email address right in the box on that page. So next up is Tanya, and as I said, we'll be utilizing resources from RAP to help us educate residents in New York State in July for the Recycled Right New York campaign. We'll be collaborating with NYSAR's Single-Use Plastics Committee as well. And I will put up our contact information quickly as I am going to read Tanya's bio. That way, if anyone wants to take any of this down really quickly. So next up, we have Tanya Randall. Tanya Randall is the program manager for More Recycling, a consulting and research firm with nearly 20 years of expertise in plastic packaging recycling. She works as a technical consultant supporting tools and participant contacts for the RAP Recycling Action Program, a national plastic film outreach project to increase awareness of and accessibility to flexible film recycling programs, and the Plastics Recycling Terminology and Tools resource for the American Chemistry Council. Tanya received a bachelor's degree in Environmental Science and Policy from Duke University. She currently serves as the Vice President of the Board of Directors for the Carolina Recycling Association and lives in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, with her husband, daughter, and pets. Tanya, you're up.
Thanks, Kayla. So I'm just going to wait for Lisa to give me presenting. Here we go. So thanks again for inviting me. I've been working with the RAP program since about 2013 when we first got started. So like Kayla said, plastic bag and film recycling is going to be the monthly theme for July for the Recycle Right New York campaign. But in the meantime, if folks are interested in getting started on recycling, information about recycling bag and film materials in New York, here's some information for you that can get you started. And one of the things that's really important to know is that this material does have markets, and when it's taken back to grocery stores or kept segregated at drop-off, it is able to be recycled and made into new products that drive markets both across the U.S. and then, as we're in talking to Brenda from the Empire State Economic Development. I know that's not the right title of her organization, but you know, there are reclaimers and end users that are looking to be in New York and are developing markets in the Northeast. And so it is really important that we keep this material clean and dry and segregated. And so the data that we have to support the RAP program, you know, it really is driven by hand touching. This was done at a distribution center for a New York retailer. I got to sort material. Thank you, Gary. Empire State Development. Thank you for letting me know that. So it is really important that what we want to do is support retail collection of bags, obviously, but also all of the other film packaging, over wraps, dry cleaning bags, newspaper sleeves, so that we keep them out of the MRF, so that they don't end up on the screen, but in fact, they go to the store bin, so that we can really strive to keep those screens clean and make it a lot more efficient to recycle all the other stuff that does need to go through the MRF. And so one of the things that we do through the RAP program is maintain the drop-off directory, which is found on plasticfilmrecycling.org, which is on the homepage. So there'll be a box right on the top of the page where you can enter your zip code. And I put in the zip code for Albany. There are over 18,000 locations in the US and Canada, but here's a handful that popped up just from the search from the Albany area. And knowing the state mandate that is in New York, all retailers over a certain square footage, I believe it's 5,000 square feet if they're a chain, or 10,000 square feet if they're standalone, you know, are supposed to have these bins for film and bag recycling. So one of the things that NYSAR, that the Single-Use Plastic Committee, has done is put together resources so that if you happen to find a store that doesn't have the bin in place and they're out of compliance, there's information about frequently asked questions about what is the act, why, what's the mandate, where should the bin be located, and so on and so forth, as well as there is a poster that's been put together with information about what should be recycled in those bins, and the store can actually update those with their own branding information as well on the tool that I'm about to show you. So Lisa says that this information is going to be on the subcommittee page tomorrow. So when you go to the NYSAR page, you'll be able to find this information. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about specifically is that WRAP has created a customizable tool that allows you to take the information that's provided and the materials that should be recycled, what should not be put in the bin, and you can create posters or handouts that you can share with your community. And I'm just going to do a quick walkthrough of this tool so that you can see how easy it is to work. So you go to plasticfilmrecycling.org/customize, and we ask for your email, but it is solely so that we can hold your information for you and not because we're going to send you any spam, because I'm the person that sees the back end of this. And I promise I won't spam you unless you let me know that you need help. And so you can log in. Since I'm already in here, there is some saved information on my part, but I want to create a tip card that I can print and hand out at local events. And so what you can do is you come in and you can make a decision about whether or not you want to have this not in curbside message or not. I suggest that everybody keeps that unless you really do have a robust curbside collection and that you know that there's markets for that material. Otherwise, keep this in the red box that you want it to recycle it at the store drop-off, not in curbside recycling. And then you can come in and choose the different materials that you would like to add to your poster. And I'd like to have a few of these things. What else do I want? I want this bag as well. And then I'd like to have clothing bags. And so what you can see is in a matter of seconds, I was able to drag and drop the different materials that I wanted that are accepted in the bin. And then I can also go through and adjust the information that I want to have as my exclusions. So I really don't want any chip bags, paper receipts, bottles, or labels. And so that's going to show. And then at the bottom, you have the ability to customize your logo, as well as you can put in a tagline. I'm just going to have Roll With Us Recycle, Town of Rosswood. I can put in address fields. And so these are actually listed with information. However, if you want to put in different things other than what is listed here, you can just type in these boxes and it will show up automatically. So instead of, maybe I wanted to just have a second tagline, you can see, I don't know if this is big enough for you to be able to see on my screen, but I can actually type in real time and I can have my information pop up automatically. And so, what you can do is when you're done, you save it and you can review it. And then I can download my PDF. And it's in high enough resolution that it is print ready. And so there it is, it's finished. And then you can download it and take it to your printer and you can get these printed. And if you want to make changes, you can go back and edit your PDF and start back into the tool. And if you want to change your template, you just go back here and you can then make a poster, and it keeps the same information for you so that you can then make a similar poster that you can also have for display, or that you can allow the retailers in your community to also be able to use in their location as well. And so one of the other things that I wanted to show that is an addendum to this is there's also an outreach builder that lets you do all plastics. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I want to make sure that we have time to get to plenty of questions. But if you are interested as well in being able to create an all plastic flyer or tip card or poster, you can also come in here and drag and drop information on specific other materials that you would like to be able to create. And it works the same way, but it's for any sort of plastic. And you can also put in special instructions as well as the not accepted materials, and you can also put in your contact information and be able to download that as well. So if anyone has any specific questions about how these tools work, I just wanted to be able to show the ease of use and being able to download these materials. And so I'm going to go back to my slide deck and finish my slideshow. But as you can see here, I'm able to create various types of tip cards and posters. And this is for anybody that if they're not able to watch this fully or see the work through of the tool or wants to be able to share how this works, it just shows you schematically how everything drops in. And as well, the all plastic recycling outreach materials. You go through a program builder that allows you to choose acceptable materials, what's not accepted, your special instructions. And then there's also an image gallery if you don't actually want to build just an entire plastics flyer. You can also just download, there's about 500 free images. They're not branded, they don't have any logos on them. And then there's some testimonials if you want to read about other communities that have had success with updating their plastics recycling information. So here's the templates that you can choose. And then on the right-hand side is just a screenshot from the image gallery. And like I said, there's about 500, both for things that you would want to put in the bin, and then also other materials that you may not want to include, like electronics or, bottles that contain hazardous materials or motor oil. And again, this is the schematic of how things drop in. And then this is just a color, the different types of information that you can download, or the different types of inserts and flyers that are available. And then lastly, I just wanted to point out that we're also building a tool to help support buying recycled for plastics materials. And so we have been working for about a year on a buy recycled products directory, and every month we're adding new materials where we want to be able to show consumers and businesses the kind of materials that are made from recycled plastic, not just film and bags, but all sorts of plastics. And so that's on recyclemoreplastic.org. We're adding new products regularly. If you have a product that you know of that fits the bill that has recycled content, whether it's the container or the actual product itself, as you can see, all of these are bottles. They're just the tube or the bottle that's made from recycled content. You can certainly share it with us. Or if you have a company that is creating this, these materials, they can also contact us directly. And also businesses are consumers too. And so there's a side of things that are related to more industrial or commercial grade materials like can liners, the carry out bags, nursery containers that for, plants and that sort of thing. And so I encourage you all to check that out and to take a look. It is not a buying site, so there's not any information on how to purchase it specifically. It's not like an Amazon. You can just go directly to the individual company website. So let me know if you have any questions about that as well. And that's all for me.
So Tanya, thank you. And I just wanted to say before we move on to Brian that Tanya and the RAP program have been fantastic to work with. So the RAP program and the recycling partnerships have been wonderful. I think ever since I met Tanya at a conference, I have contacted her. Well, how often do you think, Tanya? Weekly, maybe? So, and they are wonderful. Yeah, weekly. They are wonderful, so responsive, and always willing to help. So I just wanted to give a shout out to them, and they always do an excellent job. So if you are interested in any of these resources, it's a great place to look, RAP and their recycling partnership. And the more recycling, the page that Tanya was talking about, the Buy Recycled Products Directory. So, Tanya, you're all set?
I am done, yes.
Okay, all right. So we are going to move on to Brian. So we're going to move on to Brian Smith. Brian is the Associate Executive Director at Citizens Campaign for the Environment, CCE, an 80,000 member advocacy organization in New York State. Brian is based in Buffalo, New York, and has spent the past 18 years at CCE working on a broad range of local, state, and federal campaigns to protect public health and the natural environment. He has advanced efforts to reduce plastic pollution, including campaigns to ban plastic microbeads in personal care products at the federal level and to ban single-use plastic bags at the local and state level in New York. Brian?
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. So I'm going to talk a little bit about New York State's ban on plastic bags, and For years, grassroots organizations have worked diligently and to reduce single-use plastics, and which resulted in over 20 local governments passing either bans or fees on plastic bags. And as I'm sure everybody on this webinar knows, the legislature and the governor agreed in the 2019-2020 budget to ban carry-out plastic bags in New York State. So I'm going to talk briefly just about some of the key provisions in the new state law and hopefully answer any questions anybody has so we're on the same page moving forward. So in terms of the plastic bag ban, it's going to go into effect on March 1st of 2020. So at that point in time, retailers will no longer be able to provide customers with single-use carry-out plastic bags. The law will be enforced by DEC, Ag and Markets, and the Attorney General's office. So while plastic bags are banned, there are exemptions. And so the state law has some typical exemptions. We've seen a lot of plastic bag bans, things like plastic bags for meat or bulk items, your newspapers, dry cleaning. Restaurants are also not covered, prescription drug bags. There are also, those are all exempted from the plastic bag ban. Now the state there is preemption. The jurisdiction on plastic bags lies exclusively with the state. So that means that if you're a municipality that had adopted a fee on plastic bags previously, you would be preempted and all plastic bags will be banned statewide. Very importantly, the state law does include a provision that makes clear that stores are not exempt from continuing to provide plastic film recycling. So that's very important because there's, as Tanya and others have said, there's a lot of plastic film we need to continue to collect even with these carry-out plastic bags being banned. So while jurisdiction on plastic bags lies exclusively with the state, there are things that the local governments can do, in particular regarding paper bags and putting a fee on paper bags. This is very important because, you know, if we're going to ban plastic bags, it's important that we don't just have people then switch to paper bags, which carry their own adverse environmental impacts from using natural resources to more energy. The goal is to get consumers to switch to the sustainable, cost-effective solution, which is reusable bags. And so we've seen in places throughout the state and the country and the world that a ban on plastic coupled with a fee on paper is the most effective way of incentivizing the public to switch to reusable bags. So the state law allows for both cities and counties to opt into the state's 5-cent paper bag fee. And the way that works is the revenue generated from a fee on paper bags would go, 40% of that revenue would go to be kept by the state, by the local government, either the county or the city that adopts a local law or ordinance opting into the state program. They would keep 40%, or actually the state it would be a tax, and the state would return 40% of it to the local government. And that money would be used specifically for purchasing reusable bags for their residents in that community, with a focus on low income and fixed income residents. The remainder, or 60% of that revenue generated in the county or city that opts in, would go to the New York State Environmental Protection Fund. Now, there is an exemption for low income residents that would not have to pay a fee on paper bags. So folks that are on programs like SNAP and WIC would be exempt. So communities can act right away and act to opt in, although they won't go into effect until March 1st of 2020. But New York City didn't waste any time. They've already taken action to pass an ordinance to opt into the paper bag fee beginning March 1st of 2020. So there are some communities that already have fees on paper bags, and the state law addresses that as well. So any local government that had passed, a county or city that had passed a fee on paper bags or does so before March 1st of 2020, that can stand. And so the store in those circumstances, like you look at places like Suffolk County or Ulster County, stores can continue to keep that fee. That would be unless, of course, the county or city opts to get into the state program. There are also some towns and villages that have existing paper bag fees. They can keep those. They won't be able to pass them once the effective date of the law goes into effect. But if as I said, they can keep those, but if the county that they're in, if the town or village is in a county that ultimately opts into the state paper bag fee program, within 1 year, they would be absorbed into the county fee program. And so all the provisions of the state law are not exactly crystal clear, and there are some clarifications that are needed. So I know the state DEC is working to provide some guidance and do some FAQs to help address some of the kind of outstanding questions that remain about how this law will be implemented. But I just want to highlight a couple of important things that we see. One being, when you look at the definitions of both the plastic carryout bag and reusable bag, it raises some questions. So a plastic bag is defined as any plastic bag other than an exempt bag. And when you couple that with the definition of a reusable bag in the legislation, which is made of cloth or other washable fabrics, or a durable bag with handles that is specifically designed and manufactured for multiple reuse, it does raise some concern that potentially a reusable plastic bag, even the ones you get for $1 that you can use hundreds of times, if it is made of plastic, could potentially, as we read the legislation, could be banned. I tend to doubt that. I don't think that was the intent. So we'll see what DEC says, but if not, there does need to be some clarity about what a reusable bag actually does look like. If you're going to allow for reusable plastic bags, it's important that you don't allow for slightly thicker plastic bags that are ultimately just single use, and it really perpetuates the plastic pollution problem. So kind of fleshing out exactly what is allowed in terms of reusable bags will be important moving forward. Also, the legislation doesn't address the issue of compostable or so-called compostable or biodegradable plastic bags. So we'll just, that's one thing we'll need to see from DEC, just to make sure that those types of bags are also included in the plastic bag ban. These are some of the questions that we have, but if you read through the bill, you'll see, there's other outstanding questions in the single-use plastic committee of NYSAR is actually collecting questions that they want to put into one document and submit to the DEC. So here's the website here that you can go to as of tomorrow. It's not live yet. It'll be live probably tomorrow or early next week. So if you have questions, if you need clarification on certain aspects of the law, you can feel free to submit them online to NYSAR, and they will put these all together in one document and submit them to DC and have those answered as part of the FAQs and the guidance. So that's it in a nutshell. Feel free, we'll have opportunity for questions and answers now, but feel free to contact me anytime if you have any questions via email or give me a call. Also, if you want to look at the full text, I provided a link for the full plastic bag law legislation. And with that, I will pass it back.
All right, Brian, thank you very much, and thank you very much to all of our presenters today. We are going to go through some of the questions and answers, or not the answers, we're going to ask the presenters the questions for the answers. We're going to go through some of the questions that we've received. And Brian, it looks like we've got one for you. So is the 5-cent fee, as opposed to a higher one, which has worked in other places, state mandated?
Yeah, the legislation specifically says, in opting into the state program, it's a 5-cent fee.
Okay, thank you.
Specifically, yep.
Oh. And then we did have a question come in asking if a store that is not or the store that is supposed to be providing a bin for film plastic collection is not, or if people see the bags going out with the regular trash, how can that be reported back to the state? So how can that be reported back to the DEC? So any compliance issues or anything like that that is noticed by anyone can be sent to the DEC, and the email address for that is recycling@dec.ny.gov. And you can also give us a call. It's actually, Lisa, maybe at the end or at some point, if I could put that slide back up, but the contact would be, the phone number is 402-8706. And I can put that into the chat box as well. So yes, anything like that.
Sure, that sounds good, Kayla.
Oh, go ahead.
Let me know if you want me to make you the presenter again.
Sure, yeah, I'll just go ahead and put that back up.
All right, sounds good.
And then, so does anyone have any more questions or anything? Oh, I saw one come in. So can anyone use the Recycle Right New York campaign tweets and blurbs? Do you need to be a single-use plastics committee member? That is a fantastic question. So yes, absolutely anyone can use the Recycle Right New York campaign materials. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. So first I'll put up the contact information. So this is our contact information. If you have any compliance issues, you can email the recycling@dec.ny.gov. And to answer the other question, so yes, absolutely anybody can use the resources. And whether you're an individual in the nonprofit sector, say perhaps a private hauler or a municipality, it's open to anybody. And you do not also, you don't have to be a single-use plastics committee member to do that either. But we do encourage anyone that's interested in the single-use plastics committee to join. And I did just want to mention, actually, while I still have my screen shared, is that, and that question made me think of it. So, as I mentioned, the resources, the graphics, and everything can be accessed right from our website, but also the customized graphics can also be accessed from the DEC's Recycle Right New York Flickr album. And the link for that is right in the resources on our webpage. But I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that these images, they are totally customized for each monthly topic, and they're free, they're downloadable, and they leave room for any entity to put their logo on here, which is something that our stakeholders have requested. So just wanted to share that as well. So Lisa, I think I'm all set with sharing my screen.
Okay, sounds good.
And
Just
this
a couple
is
more questions come in, and one of them is, will the slides be made available after the webinar? So yes, the slides will be posted on the NYSAR website today. I'm also going to get the recording of this webinar up on YouTube, and that will be linked to the NYSAR website as well. Kayla, there were a couple more questions that came in. Do you want to field those?
Sorry about that. I was trying to get back to the question panel. Thank you, Lisa. So,
no problem.
Let's see. So someone asked, is there a map where we can locate where the plastic bags are being taken to be processed? How can the user know if the plastic bags are actually being recycled? So Tanya, did you want to possibly take that one as far as the map, or try both questions, or try the answers to both questions?
So yeah, yes, I'll try to do both. So we don't maintain a map specifically of where any particular material going from, say, a Price Chopper or a Big Y or a ShopRite or a Lowe's or a Kohl's is going specifically, because a lot of that we don't deal with the business relationships, but a lot of the major end users, like the Trex company that makes composite lumber, or other companies that are using recycled film and plastics in their processes, have lists of their retail partners. So if you go to trex.com/recycling, there is information about the participating retailers that are sourcing their material directly to Trex. And so that is one way to know. The other side of that is, I believe, Kayla, you can speak to this more, is that companies are supposed to maintain records about the material being collected and recycled for, I think, 3 years. And so to a specific store level, I think that there is some mandate that they're supposed to keep records. And so I don't know if you wanted to speak to that in particular, but there is not a specific map. But if anybody has specific questions about a chain in particular in New York, you can certainly reach out to me and I can try to give you the information that I have.
Yes, thank you, Tanya. So for the second part of that, yes. So it's exactly as Tanya mentioned. So it's 3 years. And so if anyone has any concerns, you could certainly email us. You know, if you think you're seeing a compliance violation, you could certainly contact us. And as Tanya mentioned, the stores are required to keep records for 3 years on their film plastic recycling. And I did see another question come in. Tanya, I think it was for you. Just trying to find it here. Okay, so could you discuss the market for plastic film?
So yeah, there's a couple of different levels of plastic film. What we're talking about here particularly is what we call retail film. So it's mixed. It's the material that consumers bring back. So it's bags, and it's also film over wrap packaging and newspaper sleeves and dry cleaning bags and that sort of stuff. And that's typically combined with the back of house material, which is more of a commercial grade, pallet wraps and shrink wraps and that sort of stuff. Backhauled to the chains, distribution centers, and then baled and sold. And so that material has consistently been marketable and recyclable and still is a revenue stream for retailers. What we're seeing the real trouble with is at the MRF level, you know, any material that ends up at a MRF, even if it could be captured through vacuums or kept separated, you know, from the line itself, just the act of having it collected with all of the other materials and the recyclables and the debris and the residue that comes from cans and jars and bottles and glass, it really doesn't have much of a value at the moment. And then at the very top would be commercial generated clean and clear film. And so the domestic market for the US is pretty soft, much like a lot of the other paper markets and some of the other plastic markets due to the national sword. But from all indications, the film market for mixed retail film is still moving and material is still being recycled as it has been over the last 5 years.
Okay, thank you, Tanya. And I just wanted to remind people that, you know, part of the Recycle Right New York education is to, you know, during the summer, during July, we're going to be educating people about keeping that plastic film out of your household recycling bins. That clean film is valuable. So I just wanted to reiterate that. And Brian, I think we've got a question for you. So how do we handle negative reactions to the paper bag fee from the public? Can you share insight into how the debates have gone from both sides? Has there been negative reactions that you have seen so far?
Yeah, I think, you know, as we saw in New York City, I think we made a compelling argument that, you know, we're in New York State, we're not exactly trailblazers when it comes to this issue. These policies have been implemented for many years, as I said, throughout the state and the nation and the world. And, you know, we ultimately want to land on a policy that provides the greatest environmental benefit. And we've seen time and time again, and this is what we've communicated to local governments, that passing a ban on plastic bags is, you know, obviously very important and effective, but the metrics and the data will show from the communities that passed a ban coupled with a fee on paper has been the most effective at reducing plastic pollution and increasing the use of reusable bags. I mean, excuse me, yeah, instead of using paper. So I think that's been, you know, important in terms of, will be important in terms of communicating that to local governments. You know, ultimately, of course, would a statewide fee on paper bags have been an ideal situation, so that we wouldn't have to go through this, you know, locality by locality. Yes, of course, but this is where we're at, and I think, you know, communicating to the public that we need, ultimately, it's not plastic or paper, it's single use versus reusable, and reusable bags is the sustainable alternative. That's what we need to go for, and that's what's resonated with the public and with policymakers.
Okay, thank you, Brian. And someone else asked a question, are plastic bags made of recycled plastic mentioned in the new law? So the DEC will be issuing guidance on this, and so when that is available, that will be available to the public, and it will be posted on our website. As Brian mentioned, so the FAQs and the guidance are forthcoming. And Lisa, did you want to do a couple more questions?
Yeah, I think so. We've got a couple more minutes.
Okay. So a question for, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Kayla. Okay.
So a question for Tanya here. So this is a film plastic recycling question, which I can say that I've learned from Tanya more than anyone about film plastic recycling, and so she's an awesome resource for this. And so Mary Schwartz said, what about other film plastics? I have a food sealer, but the bags that we use have a rough side and a smooth side, so it doesn't look like a normal plastic bag. I'm not sure what makes the inside rough, but I assume it's still simply film plastic. I've been recycling these, washed and dried, with my film plastic. Do you know if this is okay?
Kayla, will you repeat what kind of bag it is? I missed the first part of that.
Sure, I'm sorry. It sounds like it's a food sealer bag, and the bags have a rough side and a smooth side.
Right. Okay. It's depending on if it's one that goes with that is going to be, you know, sealed and then you protect your food to put in the freezer, there's a pretty good chance that it may not be fully recyclable. It may be the right type of plastic, i.e. polyethylene, but because it is intended to keep fresh food fresh longer or protect meats or such in the freezer from freezer burn, it very likely has a barrier on it. And so, Mary, if you want to reach out to me specifically after this offline and send me a picture and give me a little bit more information, I'll be happy to answer that with more detail. Not knowing more about it in particular or seeing it, can't answer it accurately. But my suspicion is it is perhaps not recyclable because of the barriers, very similar to frozen food bags or salad wash bags that have barriers in them to protect the food from spoilage, and those are not accepted in the film recycling bin.
Okay, thank you, Tanya. So it looks like we are just about out of time. So Lisa, did you want to go ahead and wrap up?
Sure. Just to wrap up, I want to thank everyone very much for joining us today. The questions were great. If there were any that were unanswered, we'll be able to respond to you individually since they all get stored after the webinar. So again, we'll make the slides, a recording, the presenter contacts, and information about NYSAR, the Single-Use Plastics Committee, available to you by tomorrow. The recording might take a little longer than tomorrow, but thank you again. Visit us at nysar3.org. I want to thank all of our panelists and our moderator today. Really appreciate all of your time and expertise. I hope you all enjoyed it. And does anyone have any concluding thoughts on the panel before we adjourn?
Hi, this is Gary. I just wanted to reiterate that all this information that was presented today, the different tools, are absolutely for use of everybody. You don't have to be, you know, a member of any committee. That's part of the reason we're getting it out here, getting it out there. So feel free to pass it along as well. Because I know somebody asked if you had to be a member of our committee. But yeah, our whole goal is to get this out there and help to educate the public.
Excellent. Thanks, Gary. I totally agree. And reach out to us anytime if you have any questions. We're here for you. And have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.